Howdy, my name is Roberto Gasparini. I am married to my wife, Virginia. We met at Texas A&M and got married while we were still there. We've had 3 children. I'm just working on trying to raise them as best as we can. Following Christ it's a challenging task, but it also is something that hopefully, if we've got a good foundation built, hopefully it's something that comes naturally for us, that we're consistently behaving in a way that Christ would not only expect of us, but in a way that he modeled for us, to show love to everybody around us, whether it's people that we know or it's the strangers that we encounter just in everyday life. I'm a cradle Catholic. I was baptized in the Catholic Church and actually grew up in kind of a rough part of town. So my parents made sure to send me to Catholic school. I was always surrounded by Catholicism, not only from a going to church on the weekend standpoint, but also during the week. I took religion classes. It was part of my schooling growing up, and then went off to college and became a member of a very vibrant and strong Catholic community that had a lot of active college age people. It was a very exciting shift for me, and then grew up, got a job, and became a real adult. Just to get involved in a parish where now instead of my parents' name, for instance, being on the weekly envelope, all of a sudden it was my name now that was on the envelope. The faith life, in a lot of ways, it's modeled by people that you see. As a father of kids that are still in the home, I have to do everything that I can to serve in that role. How can I guide them? How can I set a good example for them? What can I do to serve them? And so, living the faith in a lot of ways isn't necessarily doing something separate as much as it is, how can I integrate the faith into what am I doing on a day-to-day basis? Trying to integrate the faith by how I behave at work, how I behave as a father, how I am as a husband. Those are all ways that I have to uh, show my faith and to work at spreading the kingdom. When I was a kid growing up, I always thought of stewardship and what you could give to the church as being what you would physically put in the envelope that was passed around. I always thought about it in terms of a financial gift. But in college, I remember hearing a homily that talked about the different ways that you could give, and they summed it up in time, talent, and treasure as being 3 ways that you could give. It made a lot of sense to me, but it was also great. I remember it being great because when you're in college, being a broke college student, there was only so much money that you could give to the church. And so, I always found myself not being able to give a whole lot. And so this idea that, wait a minute, there are other options, that time and talent also are ways that you can give to the church, but then to be able to serve at Mass and help with actually conducting the Mass, or to help in other ways, to help the church community in other ways, or to help the general community in other ways. All of those, all of those things are ways to serve others. The gifts that we have are certainly given to us by God, and I certainly understand whenever I don't have certain gifts, I make sure to leave those things to the other people that do have those. From a service standpoint, God would call us to participate in the Mass however we could. And that meant for us not just showing up to attend Mass and then leave. We found different ways to participate in the Mass. I've served as a lector. My wife Virginia sang in the choir, and she has a great voice, and so it's good that she's in the choir and I'm not in the choir. But just serving it to use our gifts in a way to help the Mass. Now with kids of our own, they're altar servers, so trying to promote them being involved in the Mass. But then, in addition to serving with time and with talents, to expand that to treasure, some weekends they would have matching gifts, for example. And so then it's an opportunity that if you can, reach deeper a little bit into your pockets and pull out a few more bucks, then you could double the money because somebody else was generous enough to match the gift. And so it motivated you to try to do everything that you could to help, because your gift would be multiplied by somebody else's generosity. Sometimes we get bonuses at work, and one of the things that we would do was to carve out a certain piece of that and to dedicate a part of that to them. I was involved in a really bad car accident. So many people, went out of their way to help us out, just to bring meals to us. We had a neighbor of ours around the corner who ended up becoming a deacon, would come over to our house and cut our grass, for instance, because, between everything that was going on and me not being able to get around, it was just amazing to have somebody that would show up unannounced with their lawnmower and just to cut the grass and to be a recipient of that generosity. It's a humbling thing to have to go through, but then it also it was so important for us to be able to receive that help, that it puts it into perspective how important it is to give that help to others. A lot of times you just have to have your ear to the ground to hear whenever there's a need. And then if you have a particular skill set that can support that need or fill that need, then it's important to be intentional and say yes to that call. Generosity can be very challenging, but there's so many instances in Scripture, right, where being generous is the call. And yeah, I can't think of a single story where hanging on to every single penny that you have was the right answer. At the end of the day, it always seemed to work out, and being generous is the call. That's what we're asked to do. It takes practice. It's those small steps that enables you to feel more comfortable to then do it again, or to do it again but with a little bit more. And then you're always kind of stretching yourself out, right? It's no different than growing up. You're always pushing horizons a little bit and then seeing what you can get away with. And generosity kind of works in the same way.